Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Victorian Village. That's starting well. Victorian Vigilante. As you can tell, it's gonna be a fun night because not even 30 seconds in, I'm not able to speak anymore. It is a Victoriana third edition campaign, so it's a little bit of a different system to what most people are used to. It is closer, similar to, based on my opinion, to World of Darkness, the way it rolls. So it is essentially a Victorian steampunk world with a bit of a fantasy element. So it's pretty much like the world that we have right now, or almost. So welcome. We hope that you're gonna enjoy this campaign. Just word of warning: this is actually for all of us our very first time playing this game. For my very first time running this game. So we may be here and there, stumbling on rules and taking a moment to reflect on what's actually the proper thing to do. But we appreciate your patience here, and we hope that you're gonna enjoy it. Just a little side note as well. I'm pretty sure I don't need to tell everybody, about the news and all the, let's face it, shit is happening out there now with more and more hate crime, especially since the beginning of the pandemic towards our Asian communities. So, with this in mind, our friends at the Team Breadbox, even though we're not part of the team, they're still awesome people that we love and support. And they decided to do an open campaign for, you know what, my big brain, an acronym, which I knew right before the stream. Apparently I forgot. Whew. No stress, freaky. I'm a professional here. So you can just do exclamation donate for the Advancing Justice Asian Law Caucus. I'm probably mispronouncing some words because I'm French, Canadian. But yeah, you can do exclamation donate. We're going to be running this campaign with them throughout the month. And probably a bit into April as well, just before we roll into our annual fundraising, which will be for a different charity, which we already picked. But yeah, if you could help us donate and support the cause, support our Asian communities, and help fight against fucking white supremacy and hate, that would be super dope. If you're not able to donate, there's many ways that one can help. And one of them is just, being... oops. One moment, I'm just trying to... I created all those commands, and yet I cannot remember. Oh yeah, there you go. Exclamation API, where you can find all sort of, training out to, work on the anti-Asian hate and all that, not just be a bystander doing nothing, because doing nothing is pretty much sometimes just as bad as being part of the discrimination, so don't be that, alright? Whew. Cool. So, I think that is all it is for my personal announcement. We're gonna be here today. Gonna be here next week, and also for foreseeable future with this little lovely campaign. Without further ado, because I'm pretty sure that not even 5 minutes, and everybody's tired of already hear me talk. So I'm gonna let my lovely cast man introduce himself. And I'm gonna go by the order that they are in the overlay, and not as they appear on my screen on my side, because it's slightly different. So, Tuck, who are you, and what do you have to plug in?
Hi everyone, I am the French Tuck. You can call me French, you can call me Tuck. I use they, them, theirs pronouns. I am a streamer. I stream baking and cooking on Twitch. I will be I'll be live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be making a Slayer's Cake inspired cake and also raising money for Take This, an organization surrounding mental health in the gaming community. Um, yeah, that's me. I am playing Alexandra Collins.
Awesome. Yes, I mean, if you don't follow French Duck, I encourage you to do. I also recommend that you eat before watching their stream, and even then, you're probably going to be hungry after, like it happened to me every time. And next, we have a recurring person to this channel, because I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Bastian, you were here were you here for our very, very, very first event last year? I think you were in one of the games, right?
I think it might have been in one of the games. Yes, it was in the distant fog of the past. Uh, I'm Bastion. As he says, I'm not a streamer particularly. I'm just enjoy playing games. Go by Bastion most places online that I am visible, and in this game I will be playing Basil Worthington.
Perfect. And next, we have Pier 1. Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm Pure One. I'm just an avid role player of all tabletop RPGs that I can find and come across. So I was like, oh, new game to play. Yes, I'm in. And I am playing Miss Zephrine Cartwright.
Alright, and last but not least, our friend Distractor.
Hi, I'm Destructor, and I am playing James Ronstead II. There's nothing really else to say.
Hey, sometimes short and sweet is good enough. Alright. Well, I think, we have, a quick presentation of our cast. And I'm sure that we're going to find out more about them throughout, this first session in the campaign. So without further ado, let's roll in with a little introduction. Just to, put you, give you a general idea of what is the world of Victoriana in the current world situation. So, our campaign is currently set in Victorian London. London has an ever-growing lower-class population, forced to compete for a scarce job. Most lower-class Londoners are lucky if their jobs offer them a meager living wage. More often, the entire family has to work in order to make ends meet. Ironically, many lower-class labor toil in factory where the machines are being run by the coal that used to build the farms they once worked on. On the other side, there's also anarchist Bolshevism. Communism and nudism have been spreading throughout the lower class, and thus their influence has never been more particularly around the charismatic speaker or very occasionally, a small riot often sparked by an overzealous peeler or mentality. So yeah, fun situation here. Bolshevist League is more or less a loose collection of mind-like individual and cells, over more than a major movement. Thus, while the trade of communism revolution simmer on the continent, it is rarely seen as a concern in the British House of Parliament. But that's about to change. As you see, in 1853, the Tsarina decided to flex her muscle and expand the Russian influence in the Black Sea by seizing Crimea from the Ottoman Empire. Fearing for the access to their Asian colonies and trade, pretended France sent armies to aid the Ottomans in 1854. These armies were of course drawn mainly from the lower class. With almost half a decade of relative peace in Europe, young recruits were enticed by romantic propaganda. Poster showing well-armored modern British army decimating an ill-equipped Russian peasantry. those were placed throughout the city in factories. Factories hiring more labor as arms and supplies were churned out of support for the war effort. Politician made grand speech about keeping the Russian bear in the wild. You know, casual, xenophobia of the Victorian era. However, within 2 years, it all came down crashing. After the great initial success of the Allied army were practically annihilated by the Cyrenaic troops, the remnant retreat and regroup, save only by the arrival of reinforcement. While the Allied general prepared for another strike, the outcome is far from certain. Indeed, the Allied commander believed that they need much larger force than they have in order to be successful. If they fail, then the Tsar will be emboldened to expand, which may impact life in London. With this, there came also various reform movement. Caesar been pushed to agenda. No blood for John Company, and let the bourgeois fight their own battles. Line their own pockets became rallying cries in the lower class. They proved so effective. In fact, the British Army is having trouble recruiting, having new recruits. The British East India Company, in spite of law allowing armies to be sent overseas, is slow to ship too many units for fear mutiny and revolt. Thus, the conscription was born the conscription bill. Recently introduced to the House of Commons, the conscription bill compelled British subjects to join the armed force. Of course, bill does not affect aristocracy, and there are enough exceptions to exempt most of the middle class as well, and those that do serve automatically get officer status. The overwhelming majority of the conscript would naturally come from the lower class, likely with more risk and less pay. While it is currently doubtful that the bill will pass, that hasn't stopped the radical elements from using it to their advantage. All throughout Britain, and London particularly, angry rallies are being held. The communists argue that proletariat is being forced to die for spice and tea. Ludists warned that the government is developing new technology to free up labor for conscription. The anarchist Bolsheviks demand that government is to be overthrown. So, as London is, almost part of a new social revolution, our story here started a bit, close to home, and in the midst of all this chaos. In the year of 1856, as fate would have it, in a steam-powered coach, a group of individuals is traveling together. Even though they're not necessarily stranger to one another, they're all they're not well familiar with each other. They may have seen each other here and there, but that's about it. And all of them have been summoned in the middle of the night on behest of Miss Henry Doyle, asking them to meet her in Kensington home as most urgent matter is soon to be happening. So this is where we start. Did Groovy stop playing, or are you able?
It's playing.
Okay, cool. It was just super low on my end. So, it is in this coach that all of you are sitting. You all receive an invitation from Miss Henry Doyle, and accompanying you is one of their messenger boy, Roger. As you're all sitting there, quietly, wondering what's the reason of the summon, would you like to, well, I mean, we all know your name, but please provide us a bit of description of what do each of you see, or what are we looking at exactly. So let's go in the same order, since our friend is
Thanks.
still currently missing. I mean, I would have went the other way around, but
Yeah, no, understandable. So Alexandra Collins is a dwarvish woman, late 20s, early 30s. Hard to tell with dwarves. The aging slower process. She's dressed somewhat elegantly but simply, wearing a simple dress. She has, as you'll notice, there are some pouches at her side, one of which has a sewing scissors at the side. She also appears to be, you know, she's holding herself well, but she's also very cautious. That is the dwarvish woman that you see before you.
all right. And sitting next to Alexandra is, this fine gentleman, I do believe, a little man named Basil.
So, the human gentleman, probably in his 20s somewhere, bowler hat, kind of style mustache and beard, fairly visible scar along the right jaw. His outfit, he's well dressed, not super high end, but very well quality, very good quality, durable. Um, has a cane with him and a satchel that may or may not quite go with the outfit. Um, and looks somewhere between bemused and uninterested with the situation. Like he's along for the ride. Maybe it'll be interesting, or it'll be another boring party.
All right. Perfect. What do they see as they look at Zephrine?
Zephrine is a well-dressed, if oddly dressed for a gnome, very fancy visiting wear. She has her auburn hair trussed up atop her head with a hat. Does it cover her whole head? Just, it's fixed just so. And she has with her a parasol, because one never knows when one might need to block out light or just hit someone. You never know. And a purse on a drawstring that she has in the same hand at the same time. Her age is once again difficult to determine exactly, what with gnomes aging horribly, but one can assume she is somewhere in her late teens, early 20s, as she does not carry herself as one who has been married off yet.
Alright, perfect. And technically there's, fourth person in this card, gentleman. I'm gonna wait for our friend to come back. Unfortunately, sometime real life happened in the middle of, live stream, so no worries, he should be back soon. But yeah, so all of you are currently, sitting, each of you are, picked one by one, added to the coach, as Roger, came to your door, going through various districts. Pier 1 of yours, probably the latest one to Pier 1. Zephrine, my bad. I'm terrible. You were probably the last one to be picked on this road, simply based on your proximity to where you probably live, to the Doyle family, just based on your social status. But yeah, as usually, it's fairly late at night. Probably a little bit past dinner for most, or some do take late dinner. And usually the district is, usually fairly quiet. However, as you approach, um, those with high perception, you hear like hustle and bustle that is quite unusual for the Kingston Street and district. Uh, it sounds like masses of groups, people, um, and the more you listen, the more you hear angry shout. It is assembly folks mostly and just possibly peeking out the window as the coach stopped just a little bit. You are indeed able to see about maybe 50, 60 individuals marching in the streets, uh, visibly angry at the whole situation. And look at that, just in time, he came back.
I'm back.
And James, we only missing your character description. As you're sitting in this coach, could you tell us, everybody here at the table and our lovely audience, what you're seeing?
They are seeing a pretty well-dressed man for the place that he lived. His face is all pretty much... It looks like he's had his entire face replaced with metal, though. And one eye stands out from the other. You
Alright.
can tell he's been through a couple of fights.
James has seen something in his days. Alright. So, as I was saying, here the sound of a mob here in the streets. And more as you approach, you're somebody. You can see somebody clearly, like, on a makeshift stage, in a what would be the most ridiculous replica of a soldier uniform. Almost clown-like in their mannerism, standing and shouting. And he seems to be this individual seems to be the person leading this crowd. And you can hear them in this red coat. Have my line somewhere for that character, and I lost it. When you make
Maybe
yourself
it's a mime.
It is a mime. It is all in your mind. You and your children will be thrown away, and you'll be throwing away your life for better the man of their children and their family, so that these people can get their spice at a lower price. Why don't Why don't we just, toss them to the wolves, toss them to the Russians, and you can see. They say they're willing to spend the blood of our youth, and them, no conscription bill for them, no, because they got the money, they got it. And what do we do here? We are here working in our factories, working our lives away for the better men. And that's not enough for them. We have to go to fight a war. Oh, look at me, a little toy soldier. And you can see that person acting. You remember, like, those like little robotic, like little wind up toy soldier? Essentially,
Yeah.
marching like that up and down. Like a really like circus performer. And when this mob gathering, obviously, it does attract some the authorities, and various police officers, are just about to, impact with this mob, armed with pistols and shotgun, and they're marching towards there. You, as bystander to this situation, what do you wish to do?
This
Are we
Is
is,
the
still in
carriage?
the
Oh,
have we arrived at our stop, or is this in our way?
it is a bit in the way. Um, Roger turns to you. He's like, "Apologies. It seems that arrival may be a bit delayed," and he seems to try to find an alternate path, but currently this appears to be in your way.
Can I step out of the carriage?
You can certainly do so.
I step out of the carriage and like walk. So is there like a point where they look like they're gonna meet?
They're still like
The soldiers.
fairly good distance away. Um, the current mob is about like I don't know like maybe like 60, 70 feet away from you, and you can see like some of the officer coming a bit from behind. Um, so they're not about to meet yet, but they're still a distance. Obviously, they would like to try to possibly resolve this without bloodshed, and
Yeah, that was my idea. I was gonna try and help resolve this. So I'm gonna go walk up to the lower, what I would think to be the lower class people.
okay, all right. While James does that, what will the rest of you like to do?
As well, also, I was like, well, don't know they're being stuck in the carriage. Let's just see how this is out. Let's see. Some fish would be nice. And he grabs his satchels already rummaging and kind of stands. He doesn't follow James exactly, but he a couple of steps away from the carriage and just kind of looks like he's doing some math, looking at both groups,
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of checking his pockets. Um, does it look like this is going to go violent if there's going to confrontation, or does this just look like are the sides even, or is it going to go riot, or does this look like someone's going to be able to get the other side to bow down? The cops can how serious did the rabble
Mhm.
rousers look?
Number wise, it appeared that the current mob seems to be outnumbering the current officer here. However, no, when it's come to, let's call it equipment, uh, the officer do appear to be, a bit more well armed. Uh, of course, there's like every conflict. There's always, chance of things going sideways. Uh, so far, both groups seems to be, staying apart. You know, uh, just trying to avoid, the things spreading further. Uh, you do see, and for those who are fairly well versed, and probably spend their, livelihood in the city, more or less, probably people from middle class would probably be a bit more familiar with him, and some of the upper class just by his general persona. You do see in there Lord George Mace from Scotland. Is a fine gentleman of Eldrin and human descent, so mixed lineage, who's been for many years working as part of Scotland Yard and all that. So, but he seems to be trying to keep things as peacefully and avoiding bloodshed. I would like everybody to
Definitely not
disperse. No need to rally here.
I'm the person to persuade anybody of anything.
Tuck, you look like you've been wanting to do something for a...
I just want to. I think I would also get a bird from the carriage, but I'd keep my distance a little farther back from both groups. So I'd probably be closer to the carriage, kind of holding to see where things go. And if this is going to be a scenario where I need to try and run as fast as I can.
Alright. And Sophia, what is... as your companions that you probably just got a bit more acquainted to moment.
Well, I'm not one to be the only one left behind hiding, so I will join Alexandra outside the carriage in case there's anything I might be able to add to the situation to help it resolve peacefully, but not attempt to inject myself into the situation unless it seems absolutely necessary.
Alright. Now, as the author, stand their ground, you can see this, little soldier boy, if you can call him that way, just, keep, shouting at the crowd, it's slogans, making sure that trying to rally and raise the spirit of his compatriot of the lower class in order to and attempt to march further. That's, yes.
Question.
Yes.
Just to see if any skills I have might be of use. I have under specialties legal matters, which means I have familiarity with the law as as it stands precedences and whatever. Can I, looking at this situation, can I come up with a statute, or basically, is there some law that I can pull off that would maybe kind of intimidate them as like, hey, this is such and such a fines for each of you if you get caught here, blah, blah, blah. Some sort of legal intimidation that I could maybe just kind of like, hey, you really want to risk this? Maybe as like some sort of an intimidation thing to get people to disperse. Might I know something like that? If there is even one, I don't know.
I think they would. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly try, based on your own personal knowledge of the law and your own charisma. I think in this case,
The problem is my charisma is not that high.
not that high. Your things,
Well,
but
what would that be for the
Okay,
what is it? There's no persuasion.
that would either be. Are you trying to
Wait.
bull them or charm them? Usually
I'm trying to kind of logic bomb them. It's like, hey, did you realize that you're up
Yeah.
for this and this and this?
Okay.
If you come into this problem, kind of be, without drawing, not drawing attention to myself, but getting a whisper sent through the crowd of like, do you realize how much trouble you're actually in, and get the rumor mill going?
Okay. I would
Reverse rebel rounds.
I would say because it's pretty rowdy crowd, it would be a difficulty 2. I would either say you can attempt either to intimidate depending on what you're trying to do, or even I'd say charm, just to be a charming self.
Neither of those skills. Presence is a 1, so there's no way I can do that. Unless the information that I can come up with sway that somehow. But I have a presence of 1, so no, I'm probably fairly aware nobody would listen to me.
Do you have any point in charm or intimidate?
I do not. I have a my presence is a 1, so I could bribe them, but I don't have that much money.
All right.
Uh,
I mean, who are you trying to bribe specifically?
no, I'm not trying to bribe anybody. I don't have that much. I don't have any money for that. I was just like, I was trying to just use information to dissuade them, but I'm probably coming to the conclusion that that won't work. I've probably tried this at a bar before, and it doesn't work out well for them. So I'm just kind of like, this is I'll turn back to the Shreen and Alexandra. It's like, I've got nothing unless James up there has some sort of plan. James, do you need an assist? Or...
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I do.
Might you want to
Being as
share?
I'm part of the surprisingly lower class,
Okay.
so I'm gonna try and talk them into not turning this violent if possible.
Okay.
So I don't know how I'd do that.
All right. What would you like to, more or less tell them, like, to possibly convince them?
I'd probably tell them like, this isn't gonna end well for you if this does turn violent. Like, I'm part of the military. I know. Like, if this turns violent, you're all dead.
Yeah. All right. Do you have intimidate as a skill?
I think I do.
All right. So it will be a difficulty 2. So against your intimidation skill, I need you to roll 2 dice against it. So you have like probably 2 different colors dice, right?
I do.
Okay. So one color is your skill dice. The other one is the opposite, the difficulty dice. So for the skill dice, roll those first and tell me how many success you may have. Which I should have grabbed my dice.
It's a 4 and a 3.
Yikes.
What? Quick question: what's your intimidate skill at right now? Just out of curiosity.
1.
Okay. And what's your presence? Your presence level?
1.
Okay, cool. So, any success on that?
Let's see. I rolled 2 dice, right?
No.
No.
Or 1.
Did you put a skill in intimidate at all? A skill point in there?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you would have that plus your presence. So yeah, that's 2.
So yeah, 2 dice.
I got a 6 and a 2.
Okay, so the 6 is good. The six is a success. Anytime you roll either a 1 or a 6 is a success. So it is a difficulty 2 because of the whole situation. So I need you to roll 2 dice against it to see if one of them is gonna nullify that. Let's hope not.
5 and a 2.
That's good. That's good because you had 50-50 chance of nullifying hit here because you had equal amount of dice. So they look at you, you're fairly well dressed, but you do speak dialect of the lower class. Just the way your speech mannerism. You're obviously not somebody fancy there. And they look at you, and you do see this soldier boy approaching you. Not very tall, about maybe 5 foot, but on that little stage, look a bit more impressive. Approach you, in their costume, their big hat, and their almost like a beard-like feature, and well. So you come from the you work with the military, and yet, so you understand, the orders that await the people.
I do.
You do, and yet you do not support our cause.
I support both, but I'd rather these people not get slaughtered for no reason.
It does bring up a good point. You're speaking against the law, and you're trying to rile these people up into action. What were you hoping to gain by amassing such a crowd? When you have such blatant opposition of the constabulary.
You do see just this person, a larger gentleman, approaching him. I think we should. I think this one they have a point. I mean, I'm all for the cause, but I got a family to feed. And if I get arrested or worse, I don't know if my family's gonna make it.
It's one point, my chap. There
Well,
are ways to win your argument, but fisticuffs with those in authority are not usually one of them.
well, if you can at least, we don't want any trouble. All we want is to march through the street and make our point. So, perhaps you could
I did.
convince
Do you
those
have the
well-armed gentlemen on this side to.
Do you have the appropriate paperwork? I'm sure there's forms that just.
Since
to
when
get
is there
authorizations
paperwork for
parade.
protests?
It's a gathering. Sure, there's safety concerns. There's obviously some problem with the police wouldn't have shown up.
You must not know the military very well.
Well, in this case, allow them to convince them to let us march through, and there won't be any trouble. We're gonna march through.
It's rather late at night. Shouldn't you? I mean, you're all working then. Don't you do dinner?
Some people are quite stubborn. All right, and they go back to their troop, and you can hear them talk low tone, trying to talk to their own people, and you can see on the other side, not very far from you, Lord Mace, quite intrigued by your little group there.
And looking at door. Is this someone we know, or is this just
Lord Mace, you would absolutely know who that is.
once again?
He's
Yeah.
you may not know him personally. You may not be on friendly conversation level with him, but you most likely have seen him around. His face did make the newspaper here and there, based on his old.
Interesting. So I'm just gonna, while we're standing there waiting, tip a cane hat to wait for these, see what the rabble decides to do.
Does it look like our path is clear?
The path is clearing up. As the mob is separating into smaller groups. But
Well, I suppose we can just walk the rest of the way. It's not far.
Does it look? Yeah. Yeah. If we know we're close to where we need to go.
yeah, you can see poor George on in the front of the steam powered coach, just trying to hopefully be able to make his way through. Well, I think that's gonna be a long night. But I mean, I would feel so terrible. I mean, if you can make your way to there on foot. I mean, I do believe that some of you may have already been to Doyle's house. So,
We have the calling cards. The address shouldn't be that hard to locate.
okay. Please tell.
Far too uncouth to be late.
Yeah. Oh, I think that would be even worse. Please just if you can quickly explain the situation once you're there, and I'll make my way around as soon as possible.
Oh, and
I'm sure everything will be fine.
He looks visibly nervous, but that's most servant of a house would not being able to fulfill what they were asked. But with a bit more ease on foot, even if it requires possibly maneuver to a smaller side road where a coach would not necessarily be able to travel on its own, you are indeed able to slowly but surely make your way to eventually the house of Mr. and Mrs. Stoll in the Kensington district. Which, as you approach, you see this beautiful, well-lit house with preponderant glass streetlights that helps breaking the fog. There's, which London, it's either raining or foggy. That's the weather there. No sun is a myth. Uh, and there you can see past the gates, a beautiful marble path and steps that leads to the entrance of the door, where there's obsidian dragon carved door knocker. Door itself, is fairly large, made of fine, I don't know, Brazilian rosewood or something like that. It's fancy wood. I'm not a wood person. My apologies.
Mahogany.
Mahogany. There you go. It sounds fancy.
Question.
Answer.
Would I know who Mrs. Doyle is to a degree?
Yes, you would have probably encountered her, as Mrs. Patricia Andrew Doyle is quite the madame that love, fine things and fine couture. She is always at the top of fashion, which means that she's always looking for, nice little fancy dress. Being, based on your job and talents, you may have encountered her, most likely did. And so did anybody in the upper class circle would be quite familiar with her. To the level of discussion, that depends on how you wish to approach it. If it is more of a friendly manner, like an old friend, or just some neighbor that you see passing by in the streets. But you're
We've
there.
certainly been to the same functions, but never
Oh, yeah.
probably discussed it in person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's somebody that is very, very well known in a certain circle. But you're there in front of the door with this big ass dragon looking knocker.
Nobody else won't take up. And,
Knock, knock, knock.
if I have the calling card, the invitation now.
Yeah. Alright. And doesn't take much time that the door opens, and in front of you, you do see this little dwarven gentleman. Hair slicked back, graying, and a little gray, well-trimmed goatee, unlike mine. And back straight, looking at you with a very stern, serious look. He's in this, based on his outfit, you can assume that he's the butler of the house. Good evening.
I present the invitation. Basil Wellington.
And he takes it and looks at
It
it.
is requested.
Perfect. Right this way.
And companions, it points to the rest of them. I believe they're invited.
Yes, I do believe that Mrs. Doyle did send for
We are expected.
few.
You see me take off my fancy hat and give him a nice bow.
Probably, being not from the upper class, probably a bit stumbling in your manners, but yeah.
Middle class, so decent.
It looks at you like up and down. All right, well, follow me to the drawing room, and you can see, and he walks as he and the interior of this house, beautiful, like portrait and all, most people that did not grow up in, nice little house, yeah, this is fine stuff. You know, you can smell, from afar, the meal that are being prepared for the evening for them. Smell really, really good. Probably to some of you, smells that, with all the, fancy spice and things that, are imported that may not be affordable to some. Quite intriguing, quite appetizing. But eventually, this little fine little gentleman leads you to the drawing room. There, you do see sitting Miss Patricia Henry Doyle, with a fine dress, and on her shoulder, this little lizard creature, pretty much her little pet. Madame, as your guests have arrived, she turns to you, and look at you all up and down, recognizing each of you based on your previous encounter. Perfect, thank you. Please, have a seat.
Jesters, unless the ladies have their seats first. For
Perfect.
Madam, I want to. I can't speak for the rest, of course, but what is it I might do for you? Why have you been summoned?
Well, you see, and she looks at the dwarven butler. Mr. Straub, if you're free to go. And Caroline, there's a little lady next to her, like pouring some tea. You as well. Please, as you leave, please close all the door. All right. Well, I hope that this matter may not entirely leave this room, and I request the utmost discretion on this matter.
Why, of course.
For you see,
Understood.
I mean, I call upon you, based on my family's knowledge of who you are as an individual, and perhaps through this encounter, which led me to believe that you may be quite some capable individual in order to resolve my issue here. You see, my children, Henrietta and Michael, they've disappeared. I do believe they've run away. They haven't been home since last night, and I'm quite worried about that.
Is it well known how many children the family has and and what ages they might be? Or would we know that?
Give me just a general, would it be general knowledge?
Well, I was going to say,
Yeah,
is
someone here
like
might know
Henrietta
better.
someone I might have interacted with
Yeah.
at a function as someone who is my age, or is
Yeah.
at the very least, or Michael, or is it not someone I would have interacted with at a function?
They're not like super young. They're about like 15 and they're like late early teens.
Okay.
But they aren't.
So
To your knowledge,
a little
Dole
younger
only
than
have
where I'm
two
at, but
children.
not-
Yeah.
okay.
People familiar with
You
them.
perhaps know why they would have run off.
Honestly, that's beyond me. I'm not sure what could have happened and why they would have. If anything, honestly, I fear for the worst. There's been a bit more There's been more adventures recently, And usually they leave the house, but they always come back at night.
Not to discount our companions' capabilities, but have you thought of going to the constabulary? There
Oh,
are channels for this sort of thing, or what brings our skill sets into
oh, don't you think I didn't think about this? Of course I did. But I also, think of, especially, family reputation. What would, people say, if they knew what could happen here? The children of the Doyle running away.
The rumor mill would go absolutely wild.
And we wish to keep those discreet.
Now, you say they have run away. Is there any reason you suspect that they ran away of their own volition as opposed to having been, say, abducted?
Well, I mean, there've been no signs of, or no notes
There have been no
expecting a
ransom
reward.
demands or anything?
No demand at this moment. But
Might I ask, do you know where they've been going to? Where they've been frequenting? I think that may give us a clue.
You said they have a tendency to leave the house. Where might they have been going?
Beyond that, I guess.
Therefore,
Certainly, if we know where they tend to go, it gives us at least a starting point to look from.
honestly, I'm not exactly sure. Perhaps some of my staff may know a bit more, but
no,
honestly, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I've been in and out of the house for the past month or so. So my disposal is, based on
I think it's fair to say we're willing to look into this. But this is not, at least I'm not a professional investigator, but I'll happily
I know they've
look.
been.
Did we see the children's rooms? I mean,
Certainly, and I mean I'm more than willing to compensate for your time and effort.
that would definitely
A pound a day
appreciate
each.
it.
That'd be greatly appreciated, of course.
Definitely.
More than happy to double it upon the return of my children. You may certainly see their room. They've been more recently and playing around with their cousin Robert.
Cousin instead is not missing.
So perhaps you may be aware of where they usually go around.
So the cousin has not disappeared with your children, along with your children. Is
Well,
that correct?
Honestly, I haven't spoke with my husband's brother since yesterday, so I'm not sure if their child has come back.
So the cousin would come here, they would meet up, or what would be the normal situation, or are you?
Sorry, you cut a bit for me. What did you say?
Because how would the children meet up? Would the cousin come here, or would they meet somewhere, or did they vary?
Well, usually they would go to see Robert's house early in the afternoon, shortly following the lessons.
And one assumes that they went with a chaperone, at least along the way.
One would assume. I mean, I do not hope that my dear husband's sibling are so responsible to, once they meet with them, to send their children away. Although, Robert may be a bit older.
See. Well, of course we'll want to interview your staff. But I am curious of the state of the children's rooms, to be honest.
Right. Yes, certainly.
But did the rest of you have a question before?
None that I can think of. I think hopefully taking a peek around their rooms would give some clues.
All right. Okay, certainly. Uh, Caroline, Caroline, and she rings a little bell, and soon you see the same young woman, her hair tied up, frailing about like probably like early 20s. Yes, ma'am. What can I do for you? Uh, can you take our guest to the children's room? They they just need to go there. Certainly, ma'am. Please, right this way. And she walks with you, takes you to the part of the house, up the floor. This, and you're at his room, and this is, well, you can see, they're right there, they're children's room.
Thank you. Now, are you the children's nanny, or is she here today? Or the educator, or whoever looks after the children?
Their governess.
The governess, thank you. Couldn't remember the right word.
Well, I usually take care of the some of the lessons of the children. Although their private tutor, come and go. He does not live in this house.
See, and it's a gentleman.
That is correct. It is a gentleman. He's,
His name?
the name of the gentleman is Alfred.
Yes.
Alfred Winston. He was from what I hear, he was a professor at Oxford. But since retired and do private lessons.
Instructed. And you say you take up the intervening lessons and the governess duties. The governess.
That is correct. My duties are a bit. Whatever need Mrs. Doyle need, I'm at her disposal. I'm more or less, how would you say, housemaid of this location.
I was saying, of course, I wander into one of the children's rooms, start poking around.
Yeah. And she's staying nearby, just looking at what all of you are doing.
What I am what Basil is particularly looking for is does the children's place look actually lived in like a child would? Played with stuff, not overly organized. Like it's been played in. And two, he's going to kind of casually poke around and see if it looks like there's any clothing missing. He's looking to see if the children planned to not come back, if they took clothing with them.
Okay. I mean, as far as organized, the house staff does, do upkeep every day of the house. So, I mean, there is, sign of, somebody does live in this room. Although, it is not by any means messy. Based on the reputation of the Doyle, they would not allow a messy house. It's just a stain or dirt.
Within expectations, it's a kid's room.
But yeah, it is teenager's room, but yeah, they do seem to be lived in. There's definitely no sign of recent activities, but no, not messy by any means. If you wish to observe, and there is an option for I think investigation, or is. Do they have investigation?
Perception. There's no investigation.
Yeah. There's perception.
Perception.
Yes.
Yeah. Skills is a bit weird. Yes.
I would also like to do a perception check, but I am specifically looking for any paraphernalia, any groups that I could think of. Any, we just were walking past a group that was protesting.
Mm-hmm.
So any groups I can think of,
Flyer
any
and
aliens I can think of.
All right. Which room are you looking at, each of you? There's Michael and Henrietta's room.
Can I do two separate rolls for two separate rooms?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do.
I'll do the same. We're going through it systematically, kind of.
So
I'll be in the boys. I'll start in the boys' room.
all right.
I want to go interrogate the housekeeper, see if she would.
You want
maybe know
to speak with
what
Caroline? Okay.
Yeah, that
Alright.
maybe she knows something, but she hasn't told anyone.
All right. Okay, we gotta get that to that. As a friend, what did you want? You seem to wanted to do something.
Well, so this seems like a opportune time for my kleptomania to pop up if I'm left unattended in a room. So, do you want me to just... I'm looking at it about how that is. It's like make an average resolve roll. Does that mean I roll all of my resolve dice? Or like, what, like half of it? Or how does average resolve work?
Okay.
Void,
Okay. What is your resolve?
Rooms.
What is your resolve stat right now?
My resolve score is 4.
Okay. All right. So the average, So you're trying to are you trying to resist the urge of stealing shit, or?
Well,
I
I'm
mean-
trying to resist the... If people are watching me, I'm trying to resist the urge.
Okay.
If I'm left unattended, I'm going to perceive what I think I can easily get away with.
Okay.
Well, you have two people you've probably noticed that are quite observant,
Yeah.
actively looking
Right.
for things that are weird.
So.
Yes, but if you guys are both in the boys' room, I go into the girls' room first and see
Okay.
if there's anything I can nick.
All right.
That would be part of the problem.
All right. Okay.
Do
Here's
you
how
have
we're gonna
me to
resolve
also-
this.
also have kleptomania?
Because it is a lot of things happening at once. So, the friend, I'm gonna do your resolve. Roll me your 4 dice.
Okay.
Resolve dice. How many success on
I have
that?
2. 2.
All right. So you're able to, it's like resist the urge. You feel the itch. There's many little knickknacks around. It is a, really nice house. And, even if those are children's room, it's still in the
But
rooms
the
of
girl
rich
does have
children.
jewelry.
Yeah.
Should I roll
Alright.
one too? I'm also a kleptomaniac.
Oh, God.
What? 2 kleptomaniacs?
Oh, this is gonna go well. Yes, please do.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Keep
Oh.
in mind my resolve is 1.
Okay. Roll your resolve.
Tell me you succeeded.
I rolled a 1.
It is a success.
A success.
6 or 1 or success. So that's good. Oh, jeez, I think I'm peeking in the mic. So 6 and 1 are success. So that's good. You feel the urge, especially like all this stuff is so nice and shiny. A lot of things here you probably have never seen in your life. Yet you managed to resist the itch. All right, Basil and Alexandra. Give me your perception on each of the rolls. How many success?
I got
So-
1 success in the boys' room.
Okay. Alexandra?
I'm gonna call. I rolled both of them. I didn't decide which room was gonna be which. I'm gonna do 1 for the boys' room, and then 1 for the boys' room, and then 3 for the girls' room.
Okay.
Actually, I'm sorry, it was 2. I forgot 1s were successes, so it was 2
Yeah.
in the boys' room.
6 and 1s are success. Everything else in between doesn't count. So. Alright. So, you look at both in, Michael's room. Everything appeared to be in order. Nothing appears to be missing. You see there is, typical, luggage bag or, things like that. As far as you can tell, either there's, there's always, there's more than enough, clothing and all that. Nothing appeared to be out of place or missing or removed. but you do see because you both actually rolled pretty well in this room. You do see tuck on there's a little book on his bedside table. There seemed to be like piece of paper that just slightly sticking out.
I go and look at it.
Yeah. It is essentially more or less a flyer for local watering hole or pub, if you will, called the Ten Bell Pub. It is it mentioned the address on Commercial Street in the Fournier and Fournier in Whitechapel, which is a little district around here. That's the only thing that is a bit odd. That I mean, he's a teenage boy.
He's a teenage boy.
So that
Would I
one would have
know
interest in
about-
pubs.
Would I know about this pub? Any associations with it?
Give me a general knowledge.
Do you draw Basil's attention to this, or are you just contemplating it yourself?
I'll draw Basil's attention to it as well.
If I can lend her assistance, or if I can see if I remember, I have Streetwise.
Yeah.
I might have heard of it too.
Yeah, just yeah,
One success.
yeah. Basil can give me a general knowledge as well.
Just so I don't forget, I had 4 successes when we get to the girls' room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made 3 for the girls' room.
I don't know anything about this part.
All right.
I rolled 1 success for figuring out the pub.
Basil may have been to some bars, never this one, so he has no clue. Alexandra, I'm not sure if you're one that go to your local watering hole here and there, or you may have heard, but you may have heard of this one. The Ten Bells Pub, reputation in Whitechapel is now been established, for many years. Well known for brewing its own beer since 1666, nonetheless, and has garnered a reputation for decent food and respectable public house for thirsty Londoner or people they know from far away. In spite of that good reputation during the daytime, it is still like many. Whitechapel is still a dangerous location at night. There are several neighborhood rookeries within the neighborhood. So, but yeah, it is it's not the worst part of town. It is not the shadiest area, but like especially with all the unrest in the city, more places are becoming a bit more dangerous at night.
Understandable.
Yes.
Also, are there portraits of the children?
None in this room. They're not narcissistic enough to have self-portrait, but you would have seen one in some especially in the hallway, like family portrait and all of that. They look. And yeah, tell Michael look a bit more like Mrs. Doyle, and you notice that Aaron look a bit more like a father. So, not that she has not necessarily that she has a manly feature, just certain feature does have a more resemblance to
More blatant connection.
yeah, which is often the case with the first child. So,
So
yeah.
then on to the girls' room.
yeah, and you look around. It's very, very similar to Michael's room. Nothing seems to be really out of place. There's definitely like little jewelry things missing and all that. Not enough to say that some was stolen or rushed. Most likely, things that she would have worn at night. You do see in both rooms, you do notice that the clothes and boots that they're usually like people have like boots for, especially in upper class, boots for different occasion or depending on where they go. The pair of boots that seem to have been taken is more of a. You don't see any countryside boots, per se. So they most likely took those, knowing well that we're gonna probably walk and need something comfortable, and that would be able to deal with London's sometimes less paved streets.
So did we get the impression? Because that's kind of one of the main things I was looking for. There are gaps in the closet. You said the boots that are the style of boots noticeably missing. Is there like an overnight bag or anything, or
There doesn't seem
look
to
at
be
this
any
pile of
overnight.
luggage where one is missing, or is that it?
They seem to me like having like their own like what would they have worn that day left, which mean that either if they did indeed leave on their own and add some things packed and ready, they would have that ready somewhere else, and not here, or that perhaps their experience is not voluntary, but they were not taken from this home directly.
And then
Yes,
I rolled 3 successes looking for paraphernalia.
paraphernalia. Because English is not my first language, can you tell me what paraphernalia is again?
Looking for things that are like associated with
Okay.
Like flyers
Flyers.
or
things,
Yeah.
things that we have like
pins.
the pub.
Yeah.
Finding like seeing if there's
Propaganda.
association with propaganda.
There's no propaganda things in her room. Unlike her brother, she seems to, either I've managed to hide it better or dispose of it, or anything, but she doesn't. She did not keep any souvenir from her adventure outside in her room. So, usually she seems to be, as a child, she seems to be interested, in certain politics and all that, and history, and there's indeed information about Bolsheviks in town, but nothing. It's more like newspaper article, things like that she may have piqued interest in, being a clever child, but no propaganda flyers and things like that.
She's either uninterested or far better at hiding.
Hmm.
Still, we have the pub we can go look into. Still got the cousin's family to speak with, and the help of the house.
Yeah, and James, I do believe you wanted to more or less have an insight on Caroline, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Just making myself notes. Basil and Alexandra, was there anything else you wanted to do quickly in those rooms?
You broke up there. If you didn't hear what you asked. us.
Did both of you wanted to look at or do anything or discuss anything while you were searching the rooms?
No, I think probably we were both just doing our own thing. You called attention to what we both found, what we each found, but I don't think we really started bantering yet.
All right, perfect. So, James, if you're trying to read her, I would ask you to roll me empathy. It is under like the second row.
Yeah, I
present
see
skill.
it. This is sad. This is really sad.
Sometimes rolling things that you
I don't have anything
low
in
rolls. What's your
So you get
presence?
So you get your presents.
One. Roll it 1d6. I mean,
Four.
she seems to be, fairly reserved young woman. Definitely keeping an eye on things that are happening. But other than that, you don't really have any sense of, that she may be hiding more than, what she's showing. In fact, she seems to be, quite surprised of the disappearance of the children.
I would have more or less just been asking, like, hey, have you seen the children in a couple of days? Like,
Well, in fact, I did see them yesterday. Yes, last time I saw
oh,
them was at dinner,
yeah.
and then they were, I do believe, heading out with their cousin Robert.
Oh, okay. I was just curious because I heard they were really cute kids, and I wanted to say, hey,
You're a strange little one.
Um,
I'm not gonna deny that fact.
I mean, it tracks with somebody that has one for presents that you may be a bit awkward.
A little bit.
just-
Right? Yes.
Caroline,
Yes, Miss.
do you know children are wont to do rebellious things, especially at this age? Do you know about them frequenting a pub or trying to maybe go and get a little more drunk than perhaps they should?
Well, I mean, they've been hanging around with their cousin Robert quite recently, which sometime may be. And she looks around. Less than a good influence on the children, if I may say. I did, once, see the young Master Doyle come back with a little to drink. We had to sneak him in the back of the house. But
Well, it's quite. That's. Children, truly.
Let's just look something. Speaking of that, other than the drink, have you noticed any other oddities or changes in behavior of oddities that spent time with his children and are familiar with their cousin? Any of the three of them have had unusual change in behavior or interest.
well, I mean, I think they're all teenage children.
I mean, obviously that,
There's
but there's
obviously
there's something just not easily explained away by the teenage frivolities.
Well, I do recall. I think it was about about a week ago. When was it? Was it a week ago? Yes, I think so. They were. I think they were snickering about the church service in St. Giles. Apparently, Michael would have upset the vicar by claiming that his miracles were tricks, but um, I don't remember exactly the name of the church. But that's the only thing really that was odd. They don't tend to, be mocking, or they've been quite a bit more, rebellious in their activities, if I may say, but nothing that I think it's just been the presence of Mr. Doyle a bit missing recently with all the activities.
Mr. Doyle has gone missing as well.
Oh well, I mean he is always here and there on business trips. He's been only back for the past 2 days.
Nice.
I mean,
my misunderstanding. Sorry.
I mean, I'm sure that you're quite familiar with the business of Mr. Doyle in the East India Empire, where he trades.
I'm sorry, afraid to say my family is not expanded trade that far themselves. Ostentatiously asking her, but looking into freeing Alexandra, who would probably know its social circles better, Um, the whole family, are they particularly known for the churches? Are they fairly religious families? The Sinking House Church, is that not one of the normal places of service for the family?
GM, would I
Like,
know that?
If they're religious families,
yeah, like, do they regularly go to churches? Is that a normal part of their function? Is it
I mean,
really weird that their kid would be in a church?
it would not be unusual. I mean, some, do like to keep up good appearances, and definitely attending, church, helps, uh, helps such thing. They go there, do a few charitable donation for the poor, and of course, it helps them, in their little circle. So it would not be totally unusual per se.
The St. Giles one, is that out of their normal orbit?
It's like it's one in the area. It would.
Mm.
I mean, it's not the main one in this neighborhood because there's multiple across London. But the one in St. Giles neighborhood, is not too far from here.
Well, thank you. I think perhaps we ought to call on the Cousins family. See if we have three things to worry about or only two.
Hmm.
That sounds like a great idea.
Um,
I believe it.
Yeah, that does seem like the logical next step.
All right.
We also may want to go here, and I'm going to show the rest of the group the flyer for the pub.
oh, indubitably, I could definitely go for a drink.
Should we split up? Two of us go to the pub, two of us go see the other
Yes.
family.
Split the party during session 1.
And then blow it up.
Always a good plan.
Uh, perhaps another time, but I think it'd be useful for all of us to be together when we go there. It's not right.
We're just getting to know each other while I separate now.
True.
All right.
I inquire with the help, address and directions to the cousin's house, and we can figure out if we're gonna bother the coach guy who just got probably back by now and for a ride, or if we're gonna walk.
Yeah, eventually, you do hear, bit outside, the motorized engine of, the steam-powered coach. But Caroline said, provide you with, general direction towards the the rest of Doyle's family, which do live in their neighborhood.
So it's walkable.
It is walkable, and usually, the district is usually safe at night.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the few places that is well patrolled. I mean, there was, little agitation outside earlier today, but
And we're here now.
We've already
so-
walked through that, so.
exactly.
Yeah.
True.
I think we're probably, even given all our social standings, we're probably the closest to riffraff that there is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
So
walk.
Unless
It
any
gives us
objections?
it gives us a moment to think.
let's do it. Fine.
It also
yeah.
allows us to look at a route that they may have taken to diverge from. If they made it to the cousin's house but not back, there's we could look at where they might have branched away from or been abducted from, as I'm still not certain that these children have not returned home of their own volition yet.
All right.
I have a thought
Yes.
as to what may have happened.
I like thoughts.
Do tell.
My thinking is this cousin Robert, or whatever his name is, he may be involved in some things and may have gotten his cousins involved in some other things. Girl.
There definitely is a possibility. He is a variable in our equation at the moment. The
The
other thing I
other
find.
Oh, well, I was going to say the other thing that caught my attention that unrelated to the cousin is I find it interesting that Mr. Doyle has returned 2 nights hence, and then 1 night later the children have failed to return home. And I'm curious if there might be some correlation between the two events.
That, and associated with that, my fault. Unless out of character me misheard things. Um, the mother
Mm-hmm.
has very little dealings with the children, but she noticed that the children have been missing after one day, even though they were here for dinner the previous night.
They were
So-
there for they were
Yeah, they
there
were-
for dinner, but after that they left and did not come back.
Right. It's just that the mother seemed. And correct me, DM, if I misunderstood the explanation, but the mother seemed like she's the out and about type that she was not really involved with the children. So it seems odd to me, at least, that you noticed that quickly, unless someone told her.
She sees them every day. She sees them
Oh,
like for
okay.
like usually every day.
Okay, that was my
Uh,
misinterpretation. Scratch that.
Sometimes she's out and about, doing her little social circle activity like book club and things like that.
Right. No, I misunderstood that to think that she was out further out traveling and
Yeah.
being neglectful. My misunderstanding. Scratch that.
Oh.
Still,
It's
the
not
father thing's
neglectful,
a good
it's
point.
upper class.
Yeah, it's upper. She may not be the warmest woman out there, and her relationship
the
with her
worst
children may be
person.
strained a little bit.
Oh no, far
But-
be it. And he would definitely not be claiming that. It just, if it had been the case, it would have been odd to him that she noticed that they were
Mhm.
gone. But,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
but no, okay. Reestablishing what was actually said. Got it.
Yeah.
Still, there's a good point about the timing of the father appearing.
It does
And
just
they
seem a rather odd coincidence that he returns home and then the next night the children decide not to return or
This is
fail to return from their outings to their cousin.
That and or possibly we might wish to speak with him. Get an audience.
I mean, I
But-
could interrogate him.
There might be consequences for that, but it's definitely an option.
The possibility of the father also makes me think that after we see the cousins, we may, either tonight or possibly another night, possibly in the morning, want to come back and see if perhaps what the father's dealings have been recently. Because your thought that has made me think that perhaps, oh, I don't know, a very powerful man with with a lot of influence.
So there's quite a couple of possibilities, and we are at a depth of information at the moment.
More
So we do
information.
have, yeah, we do have
Yes.
some inquiries to make. I can check with my family's business dealings and see if they know anything, but then your social circles, of course, as well. But let us, and then there is the darker side. Post a few queries in the other social circles.
My social circles require me to be very discreet in how I
No,
go about
so did mine, but I'm just saying there's various elevations. The taverns have their own communication network. As we're walking, I will be trying to pay attention just under the thought that maybe they were snatched on the way to or from the cousins.
Okay.
I have quite a bit in conceal, so maybe that gives me an inkling of. I'd be looking for places if I were waiting to hide along this route to ambush someone.
Okay.
Where would I do it?
So I'm assuming this is all walk and talk as you're making
Yeah.
way from
One
their
door to another.
house, from one door to the
Yes.
other. So you're trying to quickly ascertain, just do a general perception. It is at night.
I'm
It is well lit, but still at night, so it will be a difficulty 1.
I'd probably know these streets pretty well, seeing as I'm a pickpocket from the streets.
But would you know the streets of the upper class?
Upper
Never
class.
wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas I would know these streets fairly well as, you know, someone who lives in the area and
True.
Somebody,
circles the area.
somebody like you usually sticks out a bit in this district. The only reason you don't stick out too much is because you're accompanied by, a little lady who fits well fits well there. So it may not be something.
Basically, Zephyrin and Alexandra are the only reasons we aren't being thrown out.
Yes.
I'm not upper class.
No.
That's
thought
your one.
No.
I mean, technically, I'm a hired assassin of the military, so
Yeah.
I got 2 successes, and the negative was a failure, so it didn't negate anything.
All right.
Alright. I got 3 successes, and there was no success on the difficulty die, so 3
Alright.
holds.
So you both take a look around. For some of you, like the street are familiar. For the other, not so much. But you know usually from other type of roads what to look for. I mean, like any street, there's possibly area for one to ambush. Although here the estates are a bit more away from each other. The houses are not like all clumped up like middle lower class. So there's a bit more space. It is a bit more difficult to sneak around. If one was to do it, could be done with some difficulty. It's not out of the realm of possibilities, but no.
It'd be far from the ideal place to do an ambush.
It would be a bit trickier to do so.
Okay.
There's definitely places that are easier to ambush somebody, especially in backstreet and lower districts. And this is mostly a residential area, so there's not as many little alcove that one can just sneak by. One may be hidden behind a coach or something, but
But you
Yes.
grab 2 or 3 teenage children,
yeah.
that's easy.
And as you make your way through, you do hear further away the crowd appears to have been mostly dispersed, so you may hear a few people, but you do see as things return more or less to normal, the occasional patrol of officers, which would indicate to you that it is the upper class does like their security. As we all know too well, sometimes. But yeah, it would be doable, but very difficult. So eventually, you make your way to the home of the relatives of Doyle, the other Doyles. Really nice house, just as well as their, or almost as nice as their counterpart. A nice little gated estate. But yeah, if you approach the gate, the door, the knocker is not as ostentatious, if that's the proper word.
Ostentatious is about the
Ostentatious,
right word,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, because a big bunny dragon, is quite ostentatious. But yeah, it is by all means a very more the typical upper class house.
Oh, I'll give a knock on the door.
All right. Yeah, give a knock on the door, and you are greeted by the butler of the house. Mm. Just a fine human, completely bald, just a little thin mustache, bit graying. Obviously, he's, early 50s. What can I do for you?
On behalf of Miss Honey Doyle, is what was the cousin's name? Scott?
Robert.
Robert. Is young Master Robert
Yes, he is indeed. May I ask who's asking?
Basil Wellington and company. My sister say with Andrea, Zafreen, and James.
All right. Please come in. Just have a seat in the waiting room. I'm gonna see if the master is available.
Right here.
Are there things to steal here?
Yes, there are things to steal. There's always things to steal. It's a
I just
fancy
figured
house.
each location I should probably resolve. I got a success, so
Okay.
I don't try to steal stuff from the new house.
Let's see.
Oh god.
We are all sitting in the same sitting room.
Oh no!
Yeah.
We're all
Okay.
all
Well, that,
see this
That's
is
right.
going to happen.
Okay.
So perception to see him steal it?
So, James, are you trying to do that? I mean, discreetly?
Yeah.
All right. So you have a skill called hide and sneak, right?
Let's
Yeah.
see.
I'm going to hope you put actual ranks into it if you're going to be a pickpocket.
I mean, otherwise you'll be the world worst pickpocket.
hey, just because you are something doesn't mean you aren't terrible at it.
Yep,
I
That would
do.
actually make for a fun character.
that's right.
I have 2 into it.
Okay. And what's your
And then dexterity.
what's your dexterity score?
Dexterity is 2.
Okay, so that's
You
total
get
4
4.
dice.
Alright, so you get 4.
Since you are in a very small room with 3 people, they're not necessarily possibly looking at you directly, but
I am looking at the exact same stuff he's looking at.
yeah, they are all very observant.
Should we make a perception roll to see if we see him taking his stuff?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do a pose roll. Those who are paying attention to just like general room, which I'm assuming that all of you are, new environment, you love that. Please give me perception. And James, give me like
got-
hide and sneak.
0 successes on 6 dice.
Hey, sometime.
1.
2 successes.
2 successes.
1. That's 2 successes. 6 and 3.
All right, so that's
So
3
that's
Oh
successes.
my god!
successes.
Wait, you beat us.
You got 3 versus our 4, well, combined 4, but how little math works on that, I don't know.
Yeah, it is not. It is nothing big. It's probably like some silverware cup of tea that are usually left around for guests and things like that. Things for them to drink water out or things like that. They don't leave them all nice stuff in that room. They know they're not stupid. There's a few but
Especially these are unexpected callers, so they're definitely not going to leave anything super expensive.
That's the whole point to a sitting room.
yeah. That's the whole point of sitting room. It is nice. It is cozy. It is warm. It is welcoming. It's nothing like extremely nice. So you may mark yourself in your inventory that you have a little silver cup
God.
We didn't see this.
that you somehow pocket.
Okay.
None of us saw this, despite
Despite
Oh
2 of
my
us
God.
having 7s in perception.
Yeah.
I have an 8 in perception.
Oh Jesus! How do you have an 8?
6, 7,
Oh, it's because
8.
you're a dwarf.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I got 2 for. I have my wits are 2. I got 2 for my background, and then I dumped 4 into it.
Yeah,
Oh, your
Oh,
background gives you 2 on top. It
Yeah.
allows them. It lets you go past. Oh wow.
yeah. Some backgrounds will, give you a little cool little bonus like that.
Nice.
All right.
Representing
So,
2 different areas.
several cup richer later, it takes a little moment for gentleman come back. Eventually, it's not the butler that arrived there, but instead is a younger man, a bit older than the portrait that you've seen of Michael and Rita, like probably like mid-20s, and a woman come with him. Yes, what can I do? I heard that some stranger came to my door to look for me, so it is late.
Yes.
I'd like things to be concluded promptly.
No, we were under the understanding that you have a tendency to make a few evenings. I apologize for interrupting then. Do you see your cousins recently? The Doyle's children.
Michael and Rita, I haven't seen them in weeks.
Seen them in weeks.
No, I mean we use once in a while, to give them a little taste of adventure, sneaking around. But recently we haven't seen them. They seem to be a bit more interested, venturing on their own. To be honest, I mean I don't blame them. Why? Why are you asking?
Is there something like insight or like something similar a la?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You can roll empathy.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, my empathy's not as good.
My empathy's crap, but I'll give it a try.
Yeah, it
my
is.
empathy is my wits. Oh, 0.
Nothing.
Let's see here.
Out of curiosity,
I got a success.
being that Robert is of the age that he would have interacted with me, does he recognize me?
You look familiar to him, but nothing that. Have we met? You may not know. You may not have seen him more, but the person with him you've seen a bit more is
Certainly.
Sister Miriam.
Ah. I'm certain we've crossed paths a few times. I'm Zephrine Cartwright.
Yes, I do. I do believe we did. Was it at a fundraising a few months ago? Oh,
Yeah, that I believe so. Yes.
it's nice to see you again. You seem to be doing well.
Well, we we do what we can. I'm as a favor to Miss, and out of character, I've forgotten the other Miss
What?
Doyle's name.
Patricia Doyle.
Trisha.
It's for Miss Patricia Doyle. She seemed concerned about Henrietta and Michael's adventuring, as if thinking there was a chance it might be a little more rambunctious than your average teenage adventures, and she seemed to be under the impression that they were coming here to spend time with Robert and go on adventures with him as well, even as recently as a few days ago.
So I
So-
got a success, and I think who else got successes on reading the guy? Okay, me and James got successes on reading whether or not he was lying about the whole.
I mean, he seems to
Seen
be
him in
honest
weeks.
about not having seen them in a while.
Okay. Well, that is curious then.
seen them. Why is that?
Might I ask, what was the pub's name?
10 bells.
The Ten
Bells.
Bells?
10 bells. The 10 bells, yeah.
Might I ask, have you been to the Ten Bells pub?
I mean, we have a few times here and there, giving them a taste of, real life outside of these walls and something, a bit more exciting than their family and can provide for them. I mean, let's just say that Sir Andrew Doyle is not exactly the best father figure, that bloody tyrant. But yes, we went here for the pub.
During our adventures with the children, showing them the truer life of adulthood, did you notice them drawn to certain circles or any particular interests that seemed to catch their eye? Perhaps that they might have even been embarrassed and tried to hide from.
I mean, they did Michael did seem to be quite fond of our good friend little Martin Crowler. Although, to be honest, he's a bit a strange little fella. I mean, while our adventure, and he was also, what's the little fella name? The dwarf that they've met. Was it Harrington or something like that? I honestly don't recall exactly the name. It was a little dwarven fella, you know.
And what was the first name you said before the dwarf?
Martin Croyle. Croyle. And they've met also with this little dwarven fella, red hair, clean shaven, well,
These
yeah,
fellows.
he's around the pub here and there. We've seen him a few times.
And what were these two gentlemen doing that caught the young sir's eye? They card players, perhaps? What form of excitement drew the eye?
Well, Martin is a fast-talking, charming person. And
Yeah.
honestly, honestly don't know what this everything fella, managed to do, but apparently, Michael seems to have been, quite fond of him. Perhaps he managed to, pique his interest, but
This pub, what other sorts of locations did you, where else did your adventures take you when you were showing the children around?
I mean, we've showed them around town a little bit, trying to keep it as much as possible to safer area. Both of them were quite fond of theater and music, so we did, bring them to the pavilion. And, I mean,
As my presence is not particularly great either. It's only a 1.
yeah.
Basil is like pressing him because one, he's doesn't grasp that not everybody has his memory. He's like pressing for like exact details. Come on, dude, give me names, all this, because he expects everybody remembers things like he does. But he'll, within the bounds of etiquette, he will be pressing this guy for exact names of everything, or as much detail as possible.
Miriam turns around. Did they meet like one of the writer? What's his name? Dylan? Yes, a fellow named Dylan that they met. And I mean, they were also quite fond of Lady Miriam. Everybody's quite fond of Lady Miriam.
Dylan writer, is in one filling in the papers, or is he list poet?
Sorry, mate, you're cutting out a bit for me.
Dylan, you said as a writer, was he Does he have the papers? Is he a poet?
No, I mean he's one of the many writer that works at a theater. I've seen. I think you may have heard some of his
Yeah, the
plays.
rat.
Nothing, quite famous enough to have the attention of the court and things like that. But quite palatable for the middle class.
But you're sure you didn't see your cousins last night?
I can guarantee it. I haven't seen Michael or Henrietta in at least a week.
Jam, does that line up with when the help told us they had to sneak the boy back in for being drunk?
That
Wasn't the cousin there then?
yeah, that was a few weeks ago, and that's
Okay, that was
yeah.
outside that.
Well, we may. Should you be going to the pub again, let us know. And maybe be a bit cautious.
No, with all those mobs hanging around, I barely dare to leave my house anymore.
Still, if
Yes,
you
it was
hear,
quite a struggle to get here tonight.
if you think of anything, anything at all that might be of use, or get word from your cousins, I'll leave my calling card.
Certainly, and he pockets it. Well, is there anything else I can do for you? I mean, I didn't expect any guests, so
No, I don't believe we meant to impose any further. Do we have any other questions?
No, although obviously you can understand that Mrs. Patricia Doyle would prefer that this not get around amongst the gossip circles. As it could be nothing, and it could be. Until we know more, we don't wish to make any big waves in society.
and you see him chuckle a little bit. I'm sure she will, and I'm sure that this will tarnish the reputation of our dear Henry. You can. I mean, you don't need to be extremely perceptive to know that just based on the way that he reacts and say his name, that they don't get along all that well.
What is the public
Yes.
perception of the Henry Doyle? He's the head of the family. Of
Are
the
you
Doyles,
asking to the? Are you asking
I'm
you?
asking the DM. Asking
Okay.
the DM what the public. You said if he's got a public presence.
Yeah, he's. I mean, he's seen as a well-versed, especially you as somebody that works in business and things like that. At least your family does. Any people that work in business or upper circle for the most part, Andrew Doyle is a very strict man, but a well-versed businessman and sometimes a bit ruthless. When it comes down to business, his general persona for most people appear to be favorable. Some may, speak ill of the man simply out of, rivalry. Especially,
There's no worse
in trades.
opinion of him than any other industrialist of the time. He's not
Yeah, I mean,
particularly outstanding as a evildoer or a philanthropist. He's just average.
yeah. He's a rich dude that, will sometimes do things that some people would not like.
Right.
But, hey,
In the course of business.
I mean, he's a businessman, and he brings, he trades a lot with, and especially in Eastern Asia, in colonies there, he's well invested there, and purveyor of goods from there, and from decoration, in their home, you can tell that you do here and there, bring some souvenir from the region.
So, is there known strain between Henry and his brother Robert's father?
Sorry, what did you say?
You said Robert is the son of Henry's brother.
Yeah.
Is there known to be strain between the two brothers?
There was before, his passing of the brother, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there were never. I mean, one of them, got the business and a few things, and one of them got a bit more than the other. But it's like many noble family. Either they will appear to love each other. Sometimes they will absolutely despise each other. It wasn't too terrible. To the knowledge of that circle, no, it wasn't. In the later years, it was a bit more strained as a relationship. But it's not a circle that it's not people that you have met all your life, so it's hard to tell.
Right, it's just the general, like, this is what was going on in society that kind of just filters down.
Yeah.
Okay.
The duelists tend to, for most good things, they tend to, go do philanthropy and trades and things like that. But they still also tend to be a bit private. So, not many things goes in circles about them. Which, is a good thing, because in such upper echelon, anything can be used against you.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, if we have no further questions here, I think we should take our leave. It is quite late.
Yes, the hour grows late.
Alright.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll have news of your cousin sometime soon.
Alright. Well, I certainly hope that my cousin are safe. Have a good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And as
Once we're outside. So someone's lying.
The children might have been lying about where they were going.
That's where I'm.
That would be
inclined to go.
my impression.
Yeah, this is the
The
simplest
mother
solution.
certainly did not have direct knowledge of when and where her children were going. She assumed that they were going to their cousins, and if that is what they were telling their tutors...
It's entirely possible. As you pointed out, the mother is worried about scandal. Isn't it entirely possible if she knew where they were going and it was a less desirable place, she might not even be willing to admit it?
Yes, but that would be her actively hindering any attempt that people might make to find and bring her children home. So
Some people
it's the balance of the
standing
scandal of where are they going versus the scandal of them being gone entirely.
For some people, one may outweigh the other. It's just a thing to be considered. I can't say it would be the first time.
Either way, I think the late
If
hour.
she was trying to disown them, she wouldn't send us to a family's house if she was trying to disown them.
Very
Plausible
true.
deniability.
I think, given the late hour, perhaps it's time to go to the pub and perhaps get a drink.
Certainly do
Sounds
that.
good.
alright.
First round is on him.
Yes.
As you make your way through the night, walking, in general vicinity of, that pub, you do see a bit further a little shadowy figure slowly approaching you. And I think that's where we're gonna leave it for the night.
Oh!
Ta-ta. Cool.
Alright. Well, there's definitely more to this story than what has been seen and found. Where the children are, there's definitely many. There's definitely a missing piece to that puzzle, which hopefully our
Yes.
little group of adventurer will be able to find a bit more about it next week. So, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you to my wonderful cast for joining me tonight. I hope that everybody had fun. We'll be back next week, same time, for more Victorian Vigilante. So, uh, before we head out, uh, again, uh, I don't think that anybody had anything to plug in for the evening. We, as a channel, we will be still raising funds until the end of the month and a bit for a few weeks in April. So yeah, let's fight hate against the members of our Asian communities, because discrimination and all that sucks. Fuck white supremacy. And it is a weird, odd subject matter being aborted in this campaign, and that there's some issue with race and things like that. So it may be a content warning. I should have probably done a little comment for that, but that's on me for next week. Thank you all everybody for coming, and also if any of you feel about looking at an awesome cake being made, there's this awesome person to my right on the overlay. They will be continuing their Slayer's cake. I think tomorrow is what, decorating of the cake?
Tomorrow is fondant and decorating, which is gonna be a time. 'Cause I've never made marshmallow fondant before, but I'm doing it this time.
I've watched a cake being made and baked on stream, and it looks absolutely delicious. So, yeah, I invite you. I'm just gonna plug their channel, French Talk. Definitely go give them a follow. They're awesome. If that is all, what are we gonna do? We're gonna bring some of the love and support that everybody brought us in chat. We appreciate all of you. To our friends, I think they are still on. Let me check.
I
Yes.
think so. I think they're still alive.
Yes, they are still alive. I mean, you know him, you love them. Our friend Dimples and Dice. They're currently, I think, in episode 3 of their Unboldwood mini campaigns. And you all know that I absolutely love that setting. That was a one shot I did last year. So bring him some love. It is GM by his wife partner, the Red Justice. She's an awesome person, with cast members such as Ward Fangirl, Audabelf, and Blue Bar's Castle, all amazing people. So until next time, take care.